54th Elective Conference, the National Elective Conference, to be held in Johannesburg over this coming weekend. The ruling party does not expect the outcome of the December conference to be challenged, but the road to the conference has been marred by bruising court challenges, including a legal bid against the leadership in KwaZulu-Natal and interdicts against the Free State Elective Conference that we were discussing earlier. The latest is against the ANC Mpumalanga Provincial General Council, lodged by former Treasurer General and presidential hopeful Mathews Phosa. The disputes are mainly over the choice between two leading contenders for the ANC's top job. Well, earlier we spoke to political analyst Mzoxolo Mpolase. We started by asking him what implications will Friday's ruling have that Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa should appoint a head of the prosecutions authority in 60 days. How could that affect the 54th ANC Elective Conference?
Everything is up in the air. Indeed, branches and PECs, regional executives have made their preferences known, but even with those preferences, even with the view from the branches, we still don't really know what's going to happen, because unlike previous contestations, where, for example, in the last elective conference that we had, it was at this stage very obvious that President Jacob Zuma would have a second term and Mpumalanga was basically a non-starter. So with this one, it's very unclear, because indeed, as it stands right now, Cyril Ramaphosa is taking the lead. But as the point was made earlier, delegates have a mind of their own, in a sense. So it's akin to, in the voting booth, it's you and you alone. And you may choose to just act on your own mandate, but not the one given to you by the branch. So it's up in the air and it's a mess, I would sum it up.
The African Congress seems to be very divisive, especially at branch level. If we look at the Free State as well as KwaZulu-Natal, that's the conference is happening today to make a choice there in relation to what's going to happen next. Why do you think are all these divisions? Is it only because of the National Elective Conference, or why is these divisiveness that we've seen so far?
Well, the sort of behavior, you know, they say when the stakes are high, you will find a lot of divisions, you'll find a lot of factions and politicization of usually very easy decisions to make. And the reason that it's such a high stakes game is that the state is the reward, the state is on offer. You know, I could contrast it, for example, the PAC had its appointment of Narius Moloto as its president after a whole long debacle. No one cares because they're not in government, they only have one seat in government, in parliament rather. So the stakes are high, and if it means that if your faction loses, you will not eat, it will mean that you'll want to contest elections, you'll want to get out of the party structures to see what you can do, either to reinforce a decision that should have been taken or nullify the decision that has been taken. So that is the reason for this highly factional, highly contested environment, is that the state is the reward, and if your faction loses, you don't get to eat.
Now, we've seen 7 candidates in the running. The SG of the ANC call it a stampede, but we have the 2 leading contenders, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma as well as Cyril Ramaphosa. What do they bring to the table, if you can contrast them?
Well, if they can be contrasted, and I'll take a sort of an objective point of view, is that what Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma on the one hand brings is that she's been in government for some time, having occupied many portfolios or been given different responsibilities. So in the sense of, if governance or good governance is to be judged by institutional memory, is to be judged by performance in the past in government, is that you would say maybe there is some positives with having her as a president. So she has that institutional memory and experience of being in government. And then of course, some of the departments that she was actually responsible for, such as Home Affairs, she was critical in turning the tide in that department, which for a very long time was very problematic. And then of course, her stint at the AU is that it may not be the most successful of stints, but nonetheless, she does bring that clout of having taken on issues, or African issues, not only at the national level, but at the international level as well, particularly as it relates to Africa. So that's what they bring, and certainly South Africa, if we were to use the AU link, is that South Africa has really been struggling to determining or structuring how it interacts at the international level. Maybe she may be critical in sort of redefining that, akin to what Mbeki had done, for example, with the revamp of the AU. Cyril Ramaphosa, on the other hand, of course, a lot of people know him as the business person right now, but prior to that, he was very critical in what brought about this democratic dispensation that we have. In that, the very constitution that we speak of, he is one of the people who envisioned how it looks like. You would recall the Cadessa processes and what have you. So that peace-building experience, albeit not that much of government experience with exception since he came into the fold in 2012. So he does bring, I would say, a greater sense, if we were to return the country to what was the vision. What was the vision in negotiating? What was the vision of the Rainbow Nation? I think he espouses some of that. In terms of governance, he's never really shown himself to be that competent in government. Indeed, he's the head of government business in his current portfolio as a deputy president, but maybe I would say short of the experience that maybe Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma has. So those are the good perspectives that they bring, or experience that they bring to this fold. However, the challenges that South Africa faces, I think, will need more than what these candidates have to offer. It has to be a sense of good governance. It has to be a sense of returning South Africa to a vision, implementing notions of NDP and what have you. So the experience is important. I've seen SABC doing the profiles of the candidates, and which is what I'm repeating in a sense. But at the end of the day, the challenges that this country has right now of economic, political, social expectations and what have you, will need both of them. Whomever wins, it will need both of them to rise up to the challenge, because what they have to offer, frankly, it may not befit the kind of challenges that we have.